Jon Ossoff, a Bernie-style Democrat, has been running a campaign to take the seat that was formerly held by Tom Price, who's now the Secretary of Health in the 6th Congressional District of Georgia. Now, what usually happens in these kinds of elections is that a candidate has to gain 50% of the vote in order to win the seat. If not, then what happens is that they go to a runoff election later on, where a person from both parties have to compete with one another in another election to take the seat. Now, in this particular case with Jon Ossoff, he just completely obliterated everybody in this area, where he came through with 48.1% of the votes. And the next closest person, which is a Republican named Karen Handel, had a mere 19.8% of the votes, which is like not even half of it. Now, unfortunately, he does have to go to the runoff election, which is going to happen on June the 20th. But it's a major step in the right direction in order to get closer to taking back Congress. Now, one thing that I do want to bring up as far as Donald Trump is concerned is that he's been taking a really big interest in Jon Ossoff in this particular area, because he doesn't want these seats to be retaken by Democrats, and it's just been a lot of backlash that's been happening. So, like, if you read from his Twitter, some of the things he's been talking about, it's like Jon Ossoff would be a disaster in Congress, very weak on crime, illegal immigration, bad for jobs, and wants higher taxes. Or the following one: despite major outside money, fake media support, and 11 Republican candidates, big R win with runoff in Georgia. Glad to be of help. So here's what I have to say to Donald Trump. If this is your idea of a big win, when the next very person who only got roughly 19.8% of the votes, if that's your idea of a win, then you're very delusional. Now, I understand that there's the runoff election is coming up a little bit on June the 20th, and there's going to be a lot of time for her to gain momentum. But if they're already at the point of where he's got 48 and she's got 19, and pretty much everybody else, they're not even worth mentioning. Like, the next closest person has like 10.8% of the votes, and it's like, nah, it's not even worth talking about. And roughly over 192,084 votes were cast. So there's not very much to talk about in this particular area as far as him gaining a win. But he's been constantly spinning this as though it's a big win. Now, there is a little bit of ray of hope, because the DNC stated their support for helping push John by campaigning on his behalf. Now, I don't quite care for the DNC, but I mean, if they're gonna go out there and help the guy out, then by all means, go for it. The Republican candidate that he's gonna be running against, Karen Handel, also made some comments on MSNBC. So we're gonna listen to a clip of that, and we'll come back and break it all down.
95% of Jon Ossoff's funds came from outside of the state of Georgia. He is not an individual from this district. I am absolutely confident that as we go to the voters and show the vast contrast between this young, inexperienced individual compared to the track record and the public service and the results that I've given to the 6th district, I will prevail.
What's your reaction?
Well, I grew up in this district. I grew up in this community, and I'm proud to say that more Georgians have made contributions to my campaign than to any other candidate in the race's campaign. I'm looking forward to what will be a spirited debate. I'm looking forward to continuing to work with a team of thousands of folks who are giving so much to push us forward, to try to get some fresh leadership into Washington. I think we're going to win on June 20th. I say bring it on.
Okay, so that clip ended with Jon Ossoff's response to it, and I just, for the life of me, I don't even know how the fuck to even pronounce his last name, but I'm gonna just say Ossoff. But in the other thing that I wanted to add to that was that she was trying to be critical of him not living in that area, but he already addressed that in a separate interview, that he lives outside the district because his girlfriend is going to school. But also to bring up another point about her talking about him receiving outside support from outside the state. Who the hell are you to even talk about support from outside when you have the most powerful person in the United States backing your corner right now with just a myriad of tweets and just robocalls. Um, and we even have some ads that we even put out there against them. So you have Donald Trump backing your court, and you have the nerve to talk about him receiving outside support from everybody. It doesn't even matter. Like, people don't even care about that. People don't care, by and large, like if he's receiving support from outside the district. They don't care whether or not he necessarily lives there. What they care about is if this guy is going to fight for them. Is he going to propose policies that's going to work for the middle class? That's what these people really care about. So this whole bullshit about, well, he's not from this area or whatever, or he's not really one of us. Nobody gives a fuck about none of that. I mean, that almost sounds just like what the Hillary campaign just tried to do against Bernie Sanders. Well, he's not a real Democrat. Who the fuck cares? So if you got something that you really want to fight for, if you really want for people to give you more than 20% of the vote next time, or at least half the vote next time, and just try to fight on the issues. Give people a reason to want to vote for you. But if you don't, you're just going to run into the same mistake again come June 20th. So I wish the best for Jon. I mean, I'm going to continue covering him. I think he's a great guy. And in a separate video, I'm going to be addressing a number of his policy positions that he's going to be bringing about to Georgia. So you guys have a great day.